It's 5 p.m. here in Lagos, Nigeria. Time for the world today. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Here's what's coming up within the hour. Attempts to arrest South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol suspended after dramatic standoff with security officers. Plane crashes through the roof of a furniture warehouse in Southern California, killing 2 people. Plus, fire engulfs world's largest second-hand textile market in Ghana's capital. The World Today begins now. South Korea police have called off an attempt to arrest suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol following a dramatic 6-hour-long standoff with security. The Corruption Investigation Office for High-Ranking Officials, the CIO, said it had decided to halt its bid to detain Mr. Yoon after the Presidential Security Service blocked its investigators from entering his residence. The military and Yoon Security Service officers formed a human wall and used vehicles to block the arrest team's path. Earlier this week, a Seoul court issued a warrant for his arrest after he ignored 3 subpoenas for him to appear for questioning. If the arrest had been successful, Mr. Yoon would have become the first sitting president to be arrested in South Korea's history. He is currently under investigation for inciting an insurrection when he tried to impose martial law last month. Earlier before the attempted arrest, a crowd of protesters faced off with police just outside the residence of President Yoon as authorities sought to execute an arrest warrant on him. The standoff started long before dawn, and in the dark, an army of police pushed back President Yoon's angry supporters who'd camped overnight, hoping to stop his arrest. One supporter, 62-year-old Jan Kyung-sun, who stayed near President Yoon's residence overnight, said he wanted to save the country from the crisis. For several hours, investigators waited. About a dozen protesters grew more agitated, trying to block a group of police officers at the entrance to a pedestrian overpass. And after a series of scuffles between the police and security officials, the investigators decided their mission was futile and they gave up. We're staying in South Korea, but this time to a fire outbreak that engulfed an 8-story building in the South Korean city of Songnam. About 30 people who were trapped in the building were safely rescued, 12 others sent to hospital for smoke inhalation. A total of 82 firefighting vehicles were deployed to bring the blaze under control after the fire started in a restaurant on the ground floor of the building, which also housed a swimming pool where children were taking lessons. There were no casualties confirmed as of now. Well, back here in Africa, a massive blaze broke out at Kantamanto Market in Ghana. It's one of the world's largest second-hand textile markets. The fire caused extensive damage to property. Those pictures there from an eyewitness on the ground. 13 fire crew rushed to contain the fire, which spread throughout the market, raising more than 100 shops, according to Public Relations Officer of the Ghana National Fire Service, Alex Nate. Though the spread has been contained, it will take about 2 days to fully extinguish the embers. As of now, no injuries have been reported, and the cause of the fire remains unknown.
I have called around 2:30 a.m. So somebody called me that counter is burning. And before I came, reaching to my shop, even I didn't know my shop again. Everywhere we are raised down. I didn't remove anything from my shop. If there's fire service there, they would have rescued some certain things. But I heard that many people are saying that fire service didn't come in time to rescue some shops. The thing that annoys me that people that are supplying, because I have shop and supplying, all of them bet. I don't know where to start again.
Everything is gone. You know, I'm the chairman of the market with over 3,000 members. And in fact, this buy city here is a younger brother to me. Yeah, we all say, and there are over 200 to 500 bills there in there. And that's where the fire started. So everything gone.
A small plane has crashed into a furniture warehouse in Southern California, killing 2 people and injuring about 20 others. The aircraft, a single-engine Vance RV-10, hit the warehouse at 2:15 p.m. local time on Thursday, engulfing it in fire and causing extensive damage to the building. The incident occurred about half a mile from the Fullerton Municipal Airport. The Fullerton Police Department said the plane struck the building, which housed a furniture manufacturing company, sparking a fire alarm at the moment. First responders evacuated the surrounding area as firefighters worked to contain the blaze. The accident investigator pointed out the Vance aircraft, the RV-10, as a common type of airplane with about 11,000 units currently in operation worldwide.
So I'll give you a quick briefing on the accident so far. This was airplane involved was a kit-built Vans aircraft RV-10, registration number November 8757 Romeo. It was construction was completed in 2011. It's a 4-seat, single-engine aluminum airplane, and it was based out of Fullerton Airport. So the airplane departed from runway 24 at Fullerton about 2 p.m. this afternoon, climbed straight ahead to about 900 feet, and a short time later the pilot called for an immediate return to the airport. The tower controller then cleared the pilot to land on any runway. The airplane then appeared to make a 180-degree left turn and flew the left downwind for runway 24, and ultimately crashed about 1,000 feet short of runway 24. Struck a furniture building and immediately caught fire. And so far we have 2 confirmed fatalities, but we don't have any names or IDs. The coroner will be able to provide that at some point in the future.
So yeah, the integrity of the building. So the building has been red tagged by the building department. There was significant damage to the roof system, and for those reasons, and the fire protection system, for those reasons, we won't be allowing anybody in the building to do any work other than the investigators and the building department to do those inspections.
Update now on the New Orleans and Las Vegas attack. The U.S. President Joe Biden says he's been briefed at an intelligence meeting on both incidents, indicating the driver who rammed into a crowd, killing 15 people in New Orleans, had pledged allegiance to the Islamic State, but had acted alone. President Biden also noted the FBI said there appeared to be no link between the attack in New Orleans and the incident in Las Vegas on the same day, in which the Tesla Cybertruck packed with gasoline canisters and large firework mortars exploded in flames outside the Trump International Hotel.
Investigations into yesterday's terrorist attacks in New Orleans and the truck explosion in Las Vegas. I've just come from the meeting, not just to spend, while we prepare these remarks, better part of an hour, from my Homeland Security team. The number of people killed in New Orleans has risen to 15, including the attacker. 35 people were injured. Today, the FBI briefed me that as of now, we have no information that anyone else is involved in the attack. They've established that the attacker was the same person who planted the explosives in those ice coolers in 2 nearby locations in the French Quarter just a few hours before he rammed into the crowd with his vehicle. They assess he had a remote detonator in his vehicle to set off those 2 ice chests. So there's no question that, remember all the talk about other people were involved, placed in, they have him, they have established he's there, and even established that he had a detonator to explode those ice chests. As I said yesterday, the attacker posted several videos just several hours before the attack, indicating his strong support for ISIS. Federal law enforcement and the intelligence community are actively investigating any foreign or domestic contacts and connection that could possibly be relevant to the attack. And so we're also continuing to investigate whether or not there's any connection between the New Orleans attack and the explosion in Las Vegas. As of now, they've just been briefed. They have not found any evidence of such a connection thus far. I've directed them to keep looking. The individual who rented the truck that exploded in Las Vegas also served as active duty U.S. Army. And the FBI is working with the Department of Defense on investigating, including the service members' possible motives, and all those he worked with, who served with him, with things he'd say and do. I directed my team to accelerate these investigations so we have answers to our unanswered questions. They're making every single resource available to get the job done. And we're going to share the facts as soon as I learn them so the American public doesn't have to wonder. In the meantime, like I said last night, New Orleans is a city of tremendous spirit. You can't keep it down. You really can't. And we're seeing that today. The Sugar Bowl is back on. Kickoff is going to take off very shortly. If I don't get this damn thing done, we're going to be in real trouble. And the FBI has handed control of Bourbon Street back to local officials. Security of the area has been reinforced, and it should be open for business later today, the Bourbon Street. People in New Orleans are sending an unmistakable message. They will not let this attack or the attackers' deluded ideology overcome us. None of us should fear that it will overcome us. We're going to continue to relentlessly pursue ISIS and other terrorist organizations where they are, and they'll find no safe harbor here. I'll continue to provide updates in New Orleans and Las Vegas as the facts develop.
Our correspondent in Washington, Maria Bird, joins us now. Maria, your eyes and ears on the ground. But let's begin with the plane crash, the one that crashed into the warehouse in Southern California. 2 people were injured. 20 others were, 2 people were killed, beg your pardon. 20 others were injured. How many people were on that plane? Maria, you need to unmute your audio.
My apologies, I did not see that. Yes, there was a very small number of individuals on that plane. That plane was one that was kind of commuting out of Orange County, which is one of the smaller airports in Los Angeles area, not far from Disneyland, for those who are familiar with that area. And so just 2 minutes after it took off, the pilot was requesting for that to be turned around. And so sometimes, depending on the climate there could be heavy fog that requires pilots to want to come back and to turn around. And then obviously, as we know, it then went right into that furniture warehouse and where those individuals were injured. But it is believed that the 2 that did unfortunately lose their life as a result of the crash were individuals that were on the plane. And so we've obviously seen unfortunate acts of this type of occurrence with these planes, smaller planes coming out of that region in Southern California due to the terrain oftentimes, or there could have actually been a mechanical issue on the plane, but that is continuing to be under investigation.
Yeah, and while that is on, we heard one of the commanders, I believe, in one of the clips just before we came to you, talking about what probably went wrong on the plane. Apparently, the pilot did call out to control tower and saying something about something going wrong on the plane or something before the crash happened. But while they're investigating what probably caused the crash, is this a regular occurrence in the area in Southern California? Do you always have small planes flying the area? And how often do these crashes occur?
Well, you don't see the crashes all the time. Potentially, we could be seeing a percentage that's a little bit higher than other parts of the country, but not a regular occurrence of crashes. Now, you do have many individuals that do actually commute oftentimes from various parts of California on a daily basis. I know we all remember the unfortunate tragedy with Kobe Bryant, and he regularly took his plane back and forth from where he lived in Calabasas down to the Lakers gymnasium in downtown Los Angeles. So that is, I think, something that's more prevalent in that community than other parts of the United States. And so obviously, the more you have people commuting by helicopter or small plane, the higher percentage potentially of these types of unfortunate crashes.
Let's move on to the New Orleans attack and then the Cybertruck that exploded in front of the Trump Hotel. So Army veterans involved in both attacks. Well, we don't know if the Las Vegas issue was an attack because the truck exploded eventually. But then the dead body they found inside of the truck was an Army veteran. And police are ruling out any connection between the Army veterans in both instances. And have also ruled out terrorism of any sort, although the Army veteran in the New Orleans attack pledged allegiance to ISIS. Has the U.S. been actively pursuing ISIS-related events or possible ISIS attacks in the last few years?
Well, we know that he's begun to kind of study the theory and the doctrine of ISIS over the past few months. It is believed in further investigation, they're still investigating the homes. We'll tell whether or not it was really as a result of some of his personal challenges, because as we discussed previously, when it first occurred, this was a gentleman that, as you mentioned, a former veteran, U.S. military personnel, and also a real estate professional in the United States who, when you look at those videos, they're very different than what we saw in the videos around his allegiance to ISIS. And so the question is whether or not there was some sort of a breakdown that happened, whether it was due to personal things, and then he joined in and started to believe and follow the doctrine of ISIS and then became inspired by ISIS. And obviously we know that his initial intention was to kill his family until he then said, well, this is really about the believers versus the disbelievers. And so he went off and had this horrific attack in New Orleans. But this is, I think, one that people are really trying to grapple their minds around how people are beginning to follow ISIS, especially when you're talking about a U.S. born citizen, someone that obviously worked directly for the U.S. military to ensure these types of attacks don't happen again, and how to really circumvent this type of teaching and what we could see as internal domestic attacks.
Well, we haven't spoken about ISIS in a really long time. Almost seems like the group is non-existent, at the moment. But the mere fact that this Army veteran wanted the name ISIS to be linked to this attack, he did have a flag, an ISIS flag, on the vehicle that he used to ram into the crowd. Now, for incidents like this, where ISIS is involved, you would hear after the incident, ISIS either claiming responsibility for the attack or claiming some sort of allegiance or some association with the attack. In this instance, we really haven't heard anything. Is this because the U.S. government keeps trying to shut down any connection between the attack and ISIS?
Yes, you're exactly correct. We typically would hear some sort of connectivity here, and I think that's when the president had his discussions with Homeland Security yesterday at the White House. They were able to really walk through what they've seen previously, and obviously some of the intelligence they have regarding the current state of ISIS. And so that is where they're clearly stating that this is a lone attacker. They have not yet confirmed any direct tie, as you said, to ISIS or any ties to other individuals being a part of this beyond him stating that he was inspired by ISIS. And so I think that's where the President of Homeland Security are really trying to understand how he got to this point if he was not directly tied to ISIS.
About the Cybertruck attack, the one that exploded in front of the Trump Towers, police yesterday said, the body they found, even though it was found inside the truck, they are not making any connections between that body and the attack itself. Why is it so difficult to make, that connection? In the vehicle, in the trunk of the vehicle, were canisters and, all of these explosives and all of that. Why is it difficult for them to make a connection between the person who died inside the Cybertruck and the fact that this could also have been an attack that he intended for this to take more lives?
Well, there's a lot of questions, I think. This goes back to why, for his identity to be provided. A lot of times we see just in a few hours the identity of the individual is exposed and provided. That was not the case with this attack. I think there's still so many questions whether or not this was someone that was paid to go sit in the truck, whether or not this was someone that didn't know he was, Cyber trucks in the United States are very much on trend. not knowing exactly how this individual ended up in the truck, I think is the real question. And I think that is part of it as they begin to identify, as we know, where they rented the truck from and knowing that it was a military personnel, but really understanding the background. I think that the case in New Orleans, as we can see, there was clear ties to, it was a buildup to him getting to that point. I think the question is, what was the buildup to get here? And was he really intending to have some sort of an attack? And I think until they're able to answer all those questions, we will continue to not see them definitely state that he had an intention to, one, have this attack and that he expected to die in the attack.
Thanks again, Maria, for bringing us up to speed on developments on this story. We're off on a break now on The World Today. Still ahead. Iran marks the 5th anniversary of the killing of top commander Qasem Soleimani. We'll have details shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. And away from the U.S., Sarah Sharif's father, who was jailed after being found guilty of killing his 10-year-old daughter, has been attacked in prison. The 43-year-old Irfan Sharif and Sarah's stepmother were sentenced to life imprisonment after being convicted last month of killing their daughter at their home in Woking, Surrey in the United Kingdom. Police are investigating the assault of Mr. Sharif, who is said to have been attacked at Belmarsh Prison on New Year's Day by 2 other inmates in a cell. Authorities said he received medical treatment inside the prison after he suffered cuts to his face. The weapon alleged to have been used in the assault was part of a tuna can. The United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF, says children are paying the highest price for the ongoing crisis in the Gaza Strip. UNICEF spokesperson Kazem Abu Khalaf said 90% of Gaza population faces acute food insecurity and 10,000 children face malnutrition. Mr. Khalaf said the worsening humanitarian conditions mean lives are being claimed, not only by airstrikes, but also by disease, hunger, and the cold weather.
Nothing to celebrate in Gaza, to be honest. By the time that the whole world is celebrating 2025, in Gaza the population 90. Indeed, according to some reports, we're talking no less than 7 of them in 1 week. That's like one every day because of hypothermia. This is unprecedented. We and together with the humanitarian organizations that are working in the Gaza Strip are trying.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says U.S. President-elect Donald Trump could be decisive in helping stop Russian President Vladimir Putin in his ongoing aggression in Ukraine. He made this known in a televised interview alongside his wife, Ukraine's First Lady, Olena Zelenska. President Zelensky said Mr. Trump's administration is capable of stopping Putin, and it was critical to stabilize the front line early in the new year amid Russian advances. Zelensky said that achieving a just peace for Ukraine means receiving solid security guarantees from allies, joining the European Union, and receiving an invitation to join the NATO alliance, a notion rejected by Moscow. The Ukrainian president also hopes that Trump's administration could establish quick contact with Russia. President Putin has said Moscow is open to talks, but they must take account of Russia's gains in the war and its annexation of 4 Ukrainian regions. Iranians across the country are marking the 5th anniversary of the killing of top commander Qasem Soleimani. Soleimani, former commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Quds Force, and Iraqi militia leader Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis were killed in a U.S. drone strike near Baghdad International Airport on January 3, 2020. Iran condemned the killing as an act of state terrorism. Commemorations were held in cities nationwide, including Tehran and Soleimani's hometown of Kerman, honoring him and other martyrs of the resistance force. Meanwhile, we're learning twin explosions occurred outside the Iranian city of Kerman. At least 103 people were reportedly killed as a result of the blast. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres has issued condolences for those killed in the attack and called for the perpetrators to be held accountable, while the Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi says the perpetrators have performed a cowardly act and will be identified and punished. Well, heavy smog has engulfed Vietnam's capital, Hanoi, with some local residents facing issues due to the increased population levels. Air quality levels in Hanoi were rated hazardous. Authorities say the thick smog is mostly caused by heavy traffic, waste burning, and industrial activities, which has significantly reduced early morning visibility in the capital's city's streets over the past few weeks. Well, neighboring India is not faring any better. A thick blanket of fog engulfed Delhi and adjoining areas in northern India, leaving travel delays and chaos the order of the day. More than 100 flights were delayed at the Delhi airport early this morning. India's weather department says foggy conditions are likely to continue over the next few days. US tech billionaire Elon Musk reaffirmed his backing for the far-right German party Alternative for Germany in an op-ed published by the Welt am Sonntag newspaper. This came just days after he had posted on his social network X that only the AfD can save Germany. Elon Musk not only supported the German far right, but also insulted the German president as anti-democratic tyrant. His comments have been widely criticized in Germany. They're also being described as interference in the politics of another country, especially since Germany goes to the polls next month. Deutsche Welle's Thomas Sparrow is with us now. He's in Berlin to discuss some more on this. Thomas, great to see you. Why is Elon Musk so interested in German politics?
Experts are saying that one potential reason is that Elon Musk has very important business interests here in Germany. One of his Tesla factories is actually not far away from Berlin in the neighboring state of Brandenburg. And that, he believes, gives him the right to be able to comment on Germany's political affairs. Now, obviously, a lot of people disagree with this. His comments, both in support of the AfD and his insults directed at the German president, have been strongly criticized by most politicians here in Germany who believe that Mr. Musk actually crossed a line, that it is not for him to comment on Germany's internal affairs and that it could be considered even interference, given that Mr. Musk will be part of Donald Trump's government. So as such, this has become a big political topic now, only a few weeks before the election that is due to be taking place next month in February, on February 23rd. And as such, Elon Musk, if you will, has become an unusual protagonist of the German political campaign.
Well, like you said, Thomas, he might be preparing to take on Germany as he prepares to join the Trump administration later this month. But how did the German government react to what Elon Musk said?
The German government stressed that obviously freedom of expression is very important here in Germany, even when it comes to critical comments. But at the same time, the German government did indicate that it could be understood as Mr. Musk interfering in the German election. And it's not only the German government that has reacted. Politicians from most political parties in the parliament have been very critical of the comments by Elon Musk. And it's actually only the AfD, unsurprisingly, that has welcomed those remarks. And in fact, they are planning a meeting between Elon Musk and the co-leader of the AfD, Alice Weidel. It is expected that that initial meeting will be online. But obviously, again, as part of the political campaign, this is something that is being criticized as interference. The big question, however, is whether this will have an impact on the result after the elections on February 23rd.
Let's go there, Thomas. What impact could Musk's comments have on the elections?
There are those who say that that could amplify the messages on the far right, that could amplify the comments by the AFD. After all, Elon Musk has a big follower number on his platform X. So there are those who see clear dangers when it comes to Elon Musk supporting the far right AFD. Elon Musk not only posted on X his comments on the AFD, but he actually also had a column on a German newspaper here, which was also very controversial. In fact, it led to the opinion head of the column section of the newspaper Welt to resign after publishing that comment by Elon Musk. Other journalists, other politicians have also commented that basically Elon Musk's idea of the AFD as the party that is going to save Germany, that's Elon Musk's view, is incorrect. So this is basically creating a big debate on what kind of impact this could have. And as I stressed, there are some who believe that it could amplify the narratives that are coming from the far right. There are others, including officials in the German government, who actually believe that that influence might not be as big as many think, that ultimately it's up to the Germans to decide in the polls, when they go to the polls on February 23rd, what the next parliament will look like and what the next government will look like as well.
Well said, Thomas, and that is it. The Germans will decide on their political future. Thanks again, Thomas Sparrow, the DW's correspondent for us here at Channels Television. Now, Nigeria's relations with the international community in 2024 could be said to have been characterized by the president's shuttle diplomacy, which in some quarters were seen as beneficial to Nigeria's development. From revisiting countries like Saudi Arabia to exploring deeper relations with China and extending his influence on the continent, Nigeria's performance on the foreign scene was arguably effective. It's been 1.5 years since President Bola Tinubu took on the reins of Nigeria's leadership, and much of the country's foreign policy has been evident in a lot of shuttle diplomacy. The president's foreign trips have come under scrutiny in some diplomatic circles, with some saying the motivation for such visits have been purely economic. The country's domestic policy was overwhelmed by rising inflation and unrest over rising cost of living, made worse by the removal of fuel subsidy the year before. But while the president implored the Nigerians to keep faith with government policies, he and the vice president traveled to various countries. The explanation being that the trips were for Nigeria's good, to attract foreign investments, which will yield great returns in due time. This despite the exit of some big corporations which could no longer bear the harsh economic realities. In the first quarter of the year, President Bola Tinubu made at least 3 trips, including private visits and the AU summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and Qatar, where he witnessed the signing of historic agreements between both countries. His trips also involved attending the inauguration ceremonies of the presidents of Senegal, Chad, and South Africa. During his trip to the Netherlands, he celebrated the King's Day, and then Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte announced a $250 million investment in Nigeria over the next few months, including a $100 million investment in a waste-to-wealth industrial facility in Lagos State. President Tinubu participated in the 2024 Special World Economic Forum on Global Collaboration, Growth and Energy Development from April 26 to 28th. He made at least 3 personal trips to London, a private visit to France, to which he would make a state visit later in the year, and participated in regional and continental meetings with the ECOWAS and the African Union.
We must not lose sight of our fundamental responsibility, which is to protect our citizens.
Perhaps one of the president's most popular trips was to China, where he attended the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, and Nigeria signed a number of deals on nuclear and renewable energy, mobility, financial cooperation, and smart city. The president's visits have been done while Nigeria has stayed a year without the appointment of ambassadors. The president's sales marketing of Nigeria as fertile ground for trade and investment perhaps paid off in some high-profile visits to the country, including the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in January, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in November, and the German president's visit to Nigeria in December.
There's a need to have some of these things translate to a much more tangible economic impact. Right now, it might look like this is necessary right now for the president to kind of give face to Nigeria, and of course, kind of marketize, if I use the word, what Nigeria is about to do, intending to do, or his administration is intending to do in this time and space. But nonetheless, shuttle diplomacy is not as powerful as it can be if those measures are not translated into very tangible economic policies that will bring about much more practical outcomes for the people on ground.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs says development, democracy, demography, and diaspora form the thrust of Nigeria's foreign policy under the present administration. And every move by the government is geared towards realizing these goals. Do Nigerians, however, agree the country is on the path to achieving the goals? Nigeria's Ministers of Youth Development and Women Affairs say the Tinubu-led administration is committed to ensuring citizens in the diaspora are included in nation building. As promise made at an informal community engagement in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates comes ahead of the planned National Youth Confab. Organized by the Adini Group, the event was attended by leading entrepreneurs, influencers, professionals, and community leaders. There's more from our correspondent, Mayowa Adeguki.
Due to the deportation of Nigerians, I lost a lot of customers. My salon was in Satwa, so it was a targeted area.
When we, the president, appoint ambassador, I know UAE is not the only country that's affected. But I feel that if we have ambassador, some of the problems that have been discussed here will not come up.
Ahead of the 2025 National Youth Confab, a select group of Nigerians in the UAE share concerns on matters that impact them with the Minister of Youth Development, Ayodele Olawande, in an event organized by Adeni Group.
We must secure the young people, and that is why we put in young and secure. We also believe in most of you that are abroad here, so that you can share your idea, you can share your input. We can see how we can come together and make things happen. We now have a youth help desk, and a large numbers of those people that have put more in these youth help desks are Nigerians, but not Nigerians, because we want to break that gene that the youth cannot communicate with the government.
Key issues raised include the lack of engagement between the Nigerian government and the diaspora, passport renewal challenges, as well as resident visa issuance, amongst others. To these, the Honourable Minister promises the soon-to-launch Youth Help Desk will serve as a channel to help improve diaspora engagement. Also in attendance at this first-of-its-kind town hall meeting is Minister of Women Affairs Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, who highlights the importance of continued engagement and awareness.
I've engaged with the government of this country on different levels when it comes to security issues, when it comes to them being able to they love Nigerians, they know that we're all not bad. The ambassador for the UAE in Nigeria is my very good friend. He even calls me my sister. So they even want to open doors for Nigerians, but they don't want to do it at the expense of their people. We have a lot of work to do. Trust me, we cannot solve issues based on individual experiences. No, we have to solve it from the policy angle. And trust me, we have the best diplomats, we have the best, policy experts that can come together and protect us as a people.
Reactions about this meeting are overall positive, with participants calling for more of such engagements.
This was a very amazing space for me to sit down and actually learn from different types of people. There were people that were entrepreneurs, there were people that were working in the corporate space. So I got to just hear different people's opinions and to understand exactly what it means to be a Nigerian abroad.
We just want to create impact in our community, and moving forward, many people can be able to do the same. And together, we can be better Nigeria in the UAE.
This groundbreaking town hall opens a new chapter in bridging the gap between Nigerians in the UAE and the government. With the promised launch of the Youth Help Desk, the journey toward meaningful dialogue and action continues. From Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Maya Wadegoke for Channels Television News.
Welcome back to the world. Today was nothing short of a miraculous rescue for an 8-year-old boy who was found alive after surviving 5 days in a game park inhabited by lions and elephants in northern Zimbabwe. The ordeal began when Tinotenda Pudu wandered at least 23 kilometers from home into the Matusadona Game Park. According to Mashonaland West MP Mutsa Borombedze, he spent 5 days sleeping on a rocky perch amidst roaring lions, passing elephants, and eating wild fruits. Matusadona Game Park has about 40 lions. At one point, it had the highest lion population densities in Africa. Tinotenda survived his ordeal by eating wild fruits. He also dug small wells into dry riverbeds with a stick to access drinking water, a skill taught in the drought-prone area. Members of the local community started a search party and beat drums each day to try and guide him back home. Ultimately, it was the park rangers who found him when he heard a ranger's car and ran towards it, narrowly missing it. Thankfully, the rangers returned, spotted fresh little human footprints, searched the area until they found him. Glad he's home now. Kenyan farmers are using artificial intelligence to diagnose diseases in crops. So talking about medical farming now, they're doing this through an AI app developed by non-profit organization Plant Village. It offers real-time solutions to crop health issues, helping farmers struggling with identifying diseased plants.
Rosalyn Akochi, a smallholder farmer in western Kenya, scans her cassava crop with a smartphone, using artificial intelligence to instantly diagnose plant diseases and pests. The app, developed by non-profit organization Plant Village, offers real-time solutions to crop health issues, a boon for farmers like Akochi, who have long struggled with identifying diseased plants. She has been using the app since 2018.
This phone app has made my work so easy. I don't have to go far or look for someone for advice or use any transport fare. It's just me in the farm with my phone. Normally, I wake up in the morning before the sun is too hot and survey my farm. This I do twice a week. But the phone app now shows me how my plants are doing and how they are growing.
The technology provides resources on sourcing quality seeds, land preparation methods, and access to agricultural specialists. Akochi reports a significant yield increase since adopting the app. The increased income has allowed her to pay for her children's education and build a house.
You cannot compare the difference. Before, an acre would produce only 5 bags of cassava. Most were wilted or diseased. But using the modern technology that I've been using, 1 acre can now produce 200 or even 250 bags.
Experts say Africa requires an annual investment of $77 billion to enhance farming practices, boost yields, and improve agricultural supply chains to address food insecurity. Smallholder farmers like Akochi, who typically work on less than 2-acre farms, produce 80% of food consumed in Africa. Many lack modern farming expertise and resources. Plant Village has been training farmers and testing their AI applications in Busia, an area identified as food insecure.
And seed suppliers, would you like to get advice on how to manage this pest?
49% of the AIs being deployed in Africa are based on agriculture. And the reason why we are focusing on agriculture is because of the increased population and also the challenges that are being brought by climate change. You'll see that there's a lot of pests and diseases that are emerging and are affecting our crops. And we want to make sure that we provide solution. We want to make sure that farmers have access to this solution so that they can increase the yield of their crops for them to be sustainable and food secure.
AI technologies adoption in Africa is still limited among smallholder farmers who face different barriers such as digital illiteracy, lack of smartphones, poor network connectivity in the rural regions, and lack of awareness.
Many experts believe AI has great potential due to its accessibility, customization, and affordability. However, barriers to technology adoption, such as lack of smartphone access, persist in Africa. Farmers like Akochi are now training others and assisting those without smartphones in their communities.
We're back to Nigeria. As the holiday season winds down, Lagos is slowly coming back to life, with many residents still easing into the new year. For those returning home after celebrating Christmas and New Year outside of the city, the journey is a transition back to everyday life. Here's more in this report.
The bustling city of Lagos, with the usual traffic jams and endless streams of vehicles that characterize its roads. But 2 days into the new year, the roads are surprisingly calm and free, a sharp contrast to the usual hustle and bustle that defines the Lagos life. Residents who traveled for the holiday season are gradually making their way back home. At this interstate motor park, passengers arriving from cities like Abuja, Ibadan, and Abeokuta alight from their buses, marking the end of long journeys that spanned anywhere from 1 to 9 hours. They describe their travels as smooth, though they note a noticeable dryness on the roads.
I'm coming from Ibadan right now. Oh well, the road is okay and everywhere is calm. No accidents. It's very smoothly. Things are very expensive. We can't. In fact, in my house, though we normally buy things in a bulk, but this time around, we need to buy it as retail. So things are very expensive. But we thank God.
No, Abuja is cool now, but the only thing is that doing celebration in Abuja is not like Lagos. The whole town of Abuja is dried. Everybody, there's free movement in Abuja. No much bus, like there's too many buses here now. You go to park, you will not see too many buses on the park. And sometimes you will stand on the road to look for motor. You will hardly see motor because everybody had traveled for celebration.
At the Murtala Mohammed Airport too, a similar scene unfolds as travelers returning home after the festivities stream in from domestic flights. While the airport terminals are less crowded than usual, there is still an air of anticipation and movement, even though they say the celebration was different.
It was very lucky, yeah, because there are very good places that we used to go with my family during festive seasons. Those places, people were there, but not as, you would expect.
I think it's on a low key, compared to previous years, because everybody have to adjust to the reality of the current economic situation in the country. So just manage whatever you have.
For now, Lagos remains a city catching its breath, offering a brief respite before it returns to its characteristic energy, reminding everyone that even the busiest cities have their quiet moments.
Speaking of energy, there were lots of it. There was lots of it in Madrid as people participated in the 10K fun run to usher in 2025. The San Silvestre Valenciana race is tradition for many running enthusiasts, marking its 60th anniversary. According to media reports, Ethiopian Olympic silver medalist Beruhu Arigawi won the men's race in 26 minutes 32 seconds, the second fastest time for the course in history, while Spain's European 500 or 5,000 meter bronze medalist Marta Garcia claimed victory in the women's with 31 minutes and 18 seconds, setting a new course record. Well, keep running towards your dreams this year. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani.